It was always the same when Custard forecast nasty weather.
Looks like rain,
thundered Custard. One tiny cloud, Rhubarb answered, quick as lightning.
We'll see. What are you doing?
Asked the cat. Not sure yet, said Rhubarb.
Doing nothing. Relax. Take a page out of my book,
grinned Custard, expert on nothing. Maybe I will, said Rhubarb with a nod. Oh, Rhubarb, what a lovely surprise, darling. A nothing day, and such a lovely day for doing nothing. It was a lovely day. Yes, bellowed Rhubarb as he sat up with a start. Take a page out of Custard's book, he yelled. Oh, Rhubarb, you are a fidget. Relax, darling, cooed Poodle Princess. I can't, said Rhubarb. You've had an idea, warbled Poodle Princess. Yes, a book, grinned Rhubarb. How to Relax by Custard, the world's most laid-back cat.
Oh, no, too busy,
Custard wailed. You'd be rich and famous. Never have to work again.
But I don't work.
Oh, yes, of course, said Rhubarb, as Custard went on to explain that he couldn't write, spell, or type. All you have to do is think your book into my computer. Software will do the rest, beamed Rhubarb. Oh, Rhubarb, darling, you're so clever, said Poodle Princess. Well, here we are at my book writing and publishing centre, Rhubarb explained, while Custard sank into the comfortable old chair and Rhubarb had to remind him why he was here. We want a well-written, action-packed book about relaxation, no mucking about, said Rhubarb, and Custard began. Meanwhile, under the shade of the old conker tree, the friends were very relaxed indeed. It was a lovely day to do nothing. Rhubarb couldn't keep still, of course, so he hit the spy cam key on his lapdog. So far, so good. Rhubarb's bone phone rang. It was Parrot, the printer, asking how many books to print. Heaps. 1 million, Rhubarb said, and turned to Mouse. Do you know, that parrot asked me 6 times how many books, he gawped. Parrots do that, said Mouse. Right now, my computer will be draining that cat's brain dry, Rhubarb assured Mouse, as the pair found Custard fast asleep and snoring. Snoring? They yelled, and Custard jumped out of the chair. Where's our book? The pair demanded.
You mean my book?
Cringed Custard. OK, your book, said Rhubarb, and Mouse nodded nervously.
My book is finished,
grinned Custard. Instantly, How to Relax by Custard, the world's most laid-back cat, filled the screen. Book launch today, on the lawn at 4 o'clock. Book launch, Rhubarb barked, and the birds went silly. A good crowd soon gathered, and by 4 the garden was teeming with readers, anxious to get hold of Custard's book. And then it happened. The books arrived. Books, sign here, said Post Dog. Is that 1 million books? Blinked Rhubarb. No, enough for your book launch. Thousands more on the way, said Post Dog. For more? But it's a mountain already, whispered Mouse, and Rhubarb was library silent. Worse was to come. When Rhubarb opened a book, the page was covered in Zs, as was the next, and the next. Mouse picked up where Rhubarb left off. Zs, page after page, book after book. All Zs, millions of them. It was a disaster. Oh, I almost forgot. Here's the printer's bill, said Post Dog, and Mouse fainted. Custard, Rhubarb choked. It's pouring, snoring, from cover to cover.
Relax,
grinned Custard, and signed his first copy. How to Relax by Custard, the world's most laid-back cat.
I'm Sonny with a Z today, instead of my usual X.
He tittered. The autographing over, readers began to realise that they'd bought lots of Zs, nothing more. And the cultured crowd soon turned into an angry mob. Then, out of the blue, silence. Custard's books had been read from Z to Z.
Well, what do you think of that?
Beamed Custard as he walked between rows and rows of sleeping readers. Nerve-wracking, groaned Rhubarb.
Read my book. Relax.
Custard was counselling as the snoring began. Quietly at first, but as the slumbering reader's sleep deepened, the Zs became so thunderous, snoring so loud, that windows began to break, alarms went off, and dogs barked themselves silly. Sounds like Custard's book is turning out to be a nightmare, darling, said Poodle Princess. Especially for Rhubarb, said Moggy Malone, as the kettle boiled and Post Dog's weasels carried on delivering the rest of the books. 7:31, 7:32, 7:33. At 7:33, the milk arrived. However, the paper did not arrive. That is so typical, Rhubarb grizzled. They insist on me paying for my newspapers on the nail. But oh no, not a peep out of them when my paper doesn't turn up. Not a peep. Oh well, thought Rhubarb, and turned on his wireless.
And so, as no newspapers have been printed today, we haven't a clue what's what. So there is no news. Anyway, stay tuned for some lovely music.
Crackled the news hound. Typical, muttered Rhubarb, and went off down to his shed. As soon as Rhubarb stepped into the garden, he noticed the paper oik sitting on a log, sobbing his eyes out, his empty paper bag lying at his feet. Never mind, kid, it affects us all, not having a newspaper, Rhubarb was explaining, when the garden gate bell rang. Yes? Inquired Rhubarb of the dapper rogue. Jeremy Barker, journalist, news hound. Have you seen my young... Oh, thank goodness, there you are, the hack went on. I suppose you're going to tell me that you're his paparazzi, Rhubarb quipped. Ah, very good. Paparazzi. Yes, the mischief scribbler tittered, and Rhubarb asked what all the fuss was about. Haven't you heard the news? There is no news. I don't have a newspaper to write for, and he doesn't have any to deliver. It's a disaster, barked the hack. Well, there's a start, suggested Rhubarb, and the ink slinger shrugged. There is no news. The lack of gossip has the making of a disaster. I know. We could make our own news. You could write it. I could publish it. I can see it now. Rhubarb, Media Baron. Rhubarb chortled at the idea and called for his troops. Mouse, Rodent Scholar, Editor. Poodle Princess, Theatre and Film. Moggy Malone, Music. Post Dog, Horror Stories. Moe, Underground Reporter. Jeremy Barker, News Hound, Rhubarb announced, and everyone cheered at the idea of writing stories about nothing.
Editors meeting Rhubarb's shed, now,
Squeaked Mouse, and the dynamic group scrambled into the shed, which was to become HQ for Rhubarb's new newspaper, The Daily Tale. Ah, there you are, Mouse. You made it, Rhubarb began. Now, my new friend and journalist, Jeremy Barker, has cleverly pointed out that no news is good news. So my plan is to print stories about nothing. I have a story about my play, said Poodle Princess. And I want to write about me new song, said Moggy Malone. Sorry, you can't write about plays and songs, Rhubarb explained, only to be told that neither the play nor the song was finished. Oh, well, in that case, there's nothing to write about, said Rhubarb, when the shed door burst open and Rookie fell in all feathers and flustered.
There's a monster crocodile in the pond,
he spluttered. Change of plan, shouted Rhubarb. Jeremy Barker, pad and pencil. Moggy Malone, Poodle Princess, camera and lights. Mouse, hold the front page. Rest of you, follow me. Rhubarb prattled and stumbled over ideas for a monster headline. And that is how the first edition of the Daily Tale blundered its way to the newsstands. At the pond, Rhubarb's Daily Tale team set to work. There was a crocodile in the water, and it was, as Rookie had said, a monster. Now this was proper news. News with teeth. As soon as Poodle Twincess turned on the spotlight, the creature's beady eyes glared from the duckweed, and the crew took a combined step back. Perhaps you should interview it, Rhubarb nudged, and Jeremy Barker dug his heels into the lawn. No, the closest we'll ever get is with a zoom lens, whispered Moggy Malone. And as she took the picture, she let out the tiniest of squeals when she realised that watching from amongst the bubbles, the beast was staring her right in the eye. And then it licked its lips. Oh, it's moving, she yelled. The creature is on the move. And as the colossal brute rose out of the water, the brave Daily Tale team fed minute-by-minute details to Rhubarb, who bone-phoned them to Mouse, who splashed the gory facts across the front page. OK, we're out of here, barked Rhubarb, and the news team scattered.
Morning, Custard, said Mole. Funny hat, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah, it's the latest in float hats.
Comes in 3 styles. Hippopotamus,
Floating log and crocodile. Compartments for sandwiches, drinks, etc. Digital camera eyeballs. Propeller for non-effort manoeuvrability. Satellite navigation, and it doubles as a bike helmet. Well, nice talking, Mole. I must catch up with the others. Bye, said Custard.
The beast is coming after us, squeaked Rhubarb. Run for your lives!
Read all about it. Plastic Hat attacks news team. Read all about it.
Daft, if you ask me, said Mo.
Since well before dawn, Rhubarb had been trundling in and out of his house, throwing mysterious parcels into the bright orange rubbish skip he'd rented. The weighty packages thumped against the sides of the skip, and some extra heavy reading proved to be very noisy indeed, especially at that time in the morning. Mouse, brilliant rodent scholar from Silicon Valley, was out and about on the lawn doing press-ups and wondering what all the noise was about. When Rhubarb appeared at the door again, he looked dog-tired as he struggled with the very last bundle. Well, that's it. The end of an era, he puffed, and heaved the bag with such a final burst of energy that it sailed right over the skip and landed with a thump on the other side of the fence.
That'll wake a lazy bones if anything does,
scoffed Mouse as he handed Rhubarb a hammer, and they chuckled off down to the shed to adjust the computer. Here, them bundles is bundles of books. The skip is full of books. Why is he throwing books away? Crowed Rookie, who was scanning the skip through binoculars. Good morning, bonjour, hasta la vista, etc., jibber-jabbered Rhubarb in all-over-the-place accents in no less than Fumph languages as he and Mouse stepped from the shed.
Here we go, said Mo. Another new crackpot idea coming up.
While Rhubarb continued his speech in just one language, he announced that he had gathered together all the stories and all the facts in the world, and that he had stored them safely in what he called Megamind, his latest and very clever computer stuff, double-saved, of course. He then went on to explain that Mouse, the famous computer engineer, rodent scholar, and cheese and line dancing artist of Silicon Valley, was an expert in Megamind software, and books were no longer necessary. Everything that had ever been in a book was now safe in the computer. Mouse?
The need to hoard dusty old heavy books in order to read stories and learn facts is obsolete, gone, no longer needed. The new Megamind software has revolutionised learning.
Well, I'm not sure about books no longer being needed, said Moggy Malone. But because I have a degree of intelligence, I do agree about computers changing the way we do things, especially Rhubarb's computer. And Poodle Princess agreed wholeheartedly. Thank you, girls. You are right, fluffed Rhubarb. We depend on computers, like mine, to unravel and unscramble the rambling gobbledygook which is spoken by some individuals who refuse out of pure stubbornness to recognise the value of computers.
I do not agree,
said Custard confidently.
You are spouting rubbish. How can anyone learn anything without reading great tomes? Books, my friends, books, such as this magnificent mine of information,
he expressed with authority, and threw down the hefty book with a thud, challenging Rhubarb and Mouse, Rodent Scholar, and their computer to a duel, a fight between the written word and the microchip. We take up your challenge instantly, sir, scoffed Rhubarb, and reached for the book.
Naughty, naughty. The book is mine. The computer is yours,
said Custard. And so, close to blowing a fuse, Rhubarb turned to Mouse and announced the Megamind duel. And may the best brain win, he huffed, and turned on his paws and returned to his shed. Welcome, one and all, Rhubarb announced with great confidence as he stepped into the limelight. Welcome to Megamind, a battle of wits between Custard, a mere mortal who has only recently read his first book, and the dreaded power of my computer. Custard sank into the blatantly uncomfortable chair, while Mouse, Rodent Scholar, went into the shed, jumped on the mouse wheel to boot up the computer and unleash its intimidating knowledge. The battle was about to begin. Moggy Malone had agreed to set the tests and ask the questions on the strict understanding that there was to be no mucking about. While Poodle Princess had prepared a delicious spread of marylebone jellies, chocolate fish guts, and loads of brightly coloured fizzy fantastic drinkies. Bluebell rang a silver bell and Megamind began as Moggy presented the first question. Question 1. What is it, Mouse? Asked Rhubarb as Mouse rocked back and forth on the mouse wheel.
It's the disk drive,
whispered Mouse. A disk drive? Inquired Rhubarb, getting himself into a spin.
What's wrong with it? It's got the wobbles,
explained Mouse, just as a terrible growling noise started up as the hard disk broke loose from its bolts, drilled right through the computer, up through Rhubarb's prized dried onions, and out through the top of the shed like a mad circular saw. The garden animals went wild with laughter. Custard stood up and claimed the Megamind championship, and Rhubarb stared daggers at Mouse, Rodent Scholar, who was searching wildly through a well-thumbed book. What now? Demanded Rhubarb.
It's the instruction book,
squeaked Mouse apologetically, and Custard claimed victory over the computer and invited everyone to refreshments under the old conker tree. Are you joining us, Rhubarb, darling? Asked Poodle Princess.
Or are you otherwise booked for the evening?
Scoffed Custard.
Wizz, the home of ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, and all your favourite kids' TV characters. Now let's find kids' TV. Or I can press this microphone. Wizz. That's how easy it is.